So, Hendrickson is not really confirmed dead. With Hendrickson being brought up again, if it's seeing the weird atmosphere with the crowd at the end of this chapter, Hendrickson isn't dead. So, damn. I knew for a fact they couldn't have killed off a character like Hendrickson that was built up like he was for that long. There's no way they could kill him off that easy. And with supposedly subtle hints that Hendrickson is still around or something, interesting. Because right now, in the capital, all the sins are pretty much scattered. There's only a couple sins there right now. And all of the other sins are technically off doing their own thing. So, the big thing is that a lot of shit is going down with this chapter, because at the end we see the whispers in the crowd. At first glance it doesn't seem like much, but then when you start looking at the faces closely, the faces look very evilish looking. Like, it looks like they're sneering at the 7 deadly sins, like they have malice against them. And this is instantly making me think of multiple different reasons of what is going on here. What if the demon blood inside of the new generation of Holy Knights technically are not completely gone? Like, I mean, we saw the blood get extracted out, like the humans get extracted out of the bodies. We saw Bond and them do this. But what if there's something else going on here? Because technically, that could be the reason why we're seeing, like, the different personality traits with some of these, like, different background characters at the end of this chapter. What if the demon blood or something along the lines with the demon blood affected them and there's something going on? Maybe Hendrickson is going to revive from them or something. Or a demon's going to revive. I don't fucking know. But that ending with the reveal of Hendrickson, talking about Hendrickson and just stopping short in the middle of the conversation, that kind of makes me mad a little bit, because I want to know if he's alive or not. It's not confirmed he's alive, it's not confirmed he's dead, but with the mention of Hendrickson, something bad is about to happen. So, this chapter of the 7 Deadly Sins, or Taizai, whatever name you want to call the series, I prefer to call it Taizai Greatness, because it is greatness. We have this chapter mainly focus on King reflecting on his past. That's pretty much what this chapter is. King is reflecting on what he has done through the course of his journey as being as a sin, what he has done, what he's accomplished, what he's failed at. And when he starts reflecting about his past, it's very sad when you think about King's circumstances. I mean, a bunch of Chibis pointed out, I didn't really get too far into it because I was waiting for the next chapter before it cleared everything up. But King, out of all the characters in the 7 Deadly Sins, he's one of the most tragic characters besides Bond. And King, he's had a shitty-ass life. Like, I mean, his life has just been outright shit. He went out to save his friends and all that, and in good intentions, he left his sister behind and the Force behind. He didn't want that stuff to happen, but he left in good intentions. And, like, all the stuff that happened around with Diane, him, with his friend, happened to kill his best friend, like, all this shit that has happened to him for the course of this journey of the series, it is hell. And it really, really makes me have the feels towards King when I see something like this, because when he starts reflecting on his past and says, like, he's unworthy of being a king, he's unworthy, I'm like, dude, that is sad. It is really sad seeing King like that, because he doesn't deserve the hell he has gotten. He doesn't deserve it. I mean, he's a really good character, he's a really good person at heart, and I mean, we know for a fact of how he really is. He cares about everybody, and how hard it must be for him to have to kill his own friend multiple times, his best friend at that. And to see how he's having to live with this, and then he has to reflect on it because everybody still hates him, all these fairies hate him, it's sad. It's a very sad chapter, and that's really one of the main things you can get from this chapter, is the tragedy that centers around King's life. And the entire ordeal with Elaine in this chapter, too. Like, we find out Elaine's corpse is in this revived forest, which is a setup. Definitely her corpse is set up for future events. Because we all know Bond's goal. We know his goal, what he wanted to do in the very beginning of the series. He wants to revive Elaine. He wants to bring his lover back from the dead. And it seems like he really hasn't changed his attitude. So my theory that maybe Bond was going to settle down and try to mature got kind of thrown out the window. But I mean, Bond is still trying to figure out how to save Elaine, but he doesn't really want to give up the life of his best friend. Like, I love the dialogue in this chapter. The dialogue in this chapter hits you in the heart when you start thinking about it. When you have all the fairies and all that talking bad about King, they're starting to say, like, oh, he's a guy that gave up his sister. Like, he abandoned his sister, he abandoned the forest, he abandoned all of us to save a couple friends. And then all of a sudden, you have Bond turn around to get an up-close personal shot of him, which is very sad. Like, you could tell the, like, misery inside of Bond's face, like, how sad he feels about what he did. He's like, okay, so, for instance, I only have one friend, and I was going to kill my own friend, my best friend, for one woman. Am I worthy of being a king? That right there, that dialogue is powerful. Very, very powerful, the way Bond said that. And it really, really just shows you that he cares about Meliodas. He really, really does care about Meliodas, and he is reflecting on that also. So there's a lot of reflecting on the previous mistakes the characters have done in this chapter. For instance, with King and Bond. Bond is still depressed about what he tried to do to Meliodas, how far he would be willing to go, and the King is feeling bad because of what he's done in his lifespan of abandoning the forest and abandoning his sister. So, getting past those aspects of the chapter, let's move into the other details. Helbram. Helbram is brought back in this chapter, and he is a spirit. Now, this isn't an actually new concept to the Seven Deadly Sins, because this concept of spirits interacting with the living is technically not a new concept. It was demonstrated in the Capital of the Dead, so Helbram actually being around and actually technically as a spirit is nothing new. We have seen this before. It's been hinted at, talked about, so there's nothing really here that seems out of the ordinary with Helbram actually being inside of the helmet, or at the very least having a connection to the helmet that he used to wear for King can be able to see him. And I noticed a very interesting aspect that the mangaka Nakaba tried to do in this chapter, and I wouldn't have noticed it if I didn't go back and read the chapter last week. You know, the chapter is trying to do my theories with King and his sister. Well, as we know from the earlier parts when the Capital of Dead was first introduced, Bond could see Elaine in the Capital of Dead. He actually could see her and all that, and he actually saw her form. And only certain people could, like, see her form. Since Bond technically was so close to death, since, like, he had Immortal and all that, he was able to see her, and King technically couldn't. And with this entire aspect, you notice that Bond can't actually see Helbram. He can't see him at all. So, yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, is that supposed to tell us something? Like, is there something going on here that is even stranger? Another thing, too, that we can get from the chapter is that supposedly Elaine told Helbram before he came to the Capital of Dead, before he entered through the gates or whatever to get there, he was told by Elaine, King's sister and Bond's lover, that I want you to watch over Bond and protect him. And now here's the thing you have to think about. Why would, of all people in this series, why would Bond need to be protected? Like, out of all the sins, let's just be real here. I mean, Bond may not be the strongest, absolute fucking strongest sin, but Bond needing to be protected. What? Why does Bond need to be protected when he is immortal? That is the question you have to wonder. I mean, we do know that demons can technically hurt Bond, since Meliodas proved this when he struck Bond, and the wound is never healed, but is that the reason? Is Elaine foreshadowing that there's demons coming for Bond, or is there something else going on here? Is it going to have another repeat of what happened in the forest a long time ago? For instance, is a demon going to try to come to this new revived fairy forest and try to destroy it? Is that why? Is that why Elaine is telling King to protect Bond? Another thing, too, is Elaine tells Helbram to actually stick around King for a while. Just stay with him for a little while and just keep him comfort pretty much. Probably for King can accept that he killed his best friend, and for him to accept what he has done and accomplished and what he's failed at since his journey of being a Seven Deadly Sin. So that's one of the main central aspects of this chapter. So let's get into the little bit of theory crafting segment I want to get into before I end this video. The ending dialogue. Okay. I find it very strange how Merlin is seeming very interested in Hawk. Like, the way Merlin was speaking to Hawk in this chapter, it doesn't seem out of the ordinary. It seems like standard dialogue, but it's very strange how how her persona has been for the series of being introduced. The way she just seems to be talking to Hawk. Like, I mean, the way is like, Sir Hawk, well, the Majesty is in front of us and all that, and then you have it to where Hawk is just chowing down on food, and he's like, oh, I don't care and all that, so very strange. I mean, as I pointed out a while back, you know, we do know that Merlin is like the boar sin, and technically Hawk is a boar or a pig, whatever term you want to attach onto him, and they have a link, a connection. So, once again, a very strange dialogue going on between Merlin and Hawk. And it also brings to question what is going on with the crowd, too. Is that Hendrickson? Is that Merlin and Gowther doing that? I mean, what is causing that? Oh, yes, also, Merlin can apparently float like a fairy. Like, yeah, it was very brief. I almost missed it. I reread the chapter again. I almost missed it, but when I looked at the chapter again, I saw that Merlin was levitating like King, and I'm like, what the fuck? It just, yeah, very shocking. So Merlin has levitation magic also. So, overall, really good chapter. I would give this chapter a 7.5 or 8 out of 10, or, yeah, you know what, 8. 8 out of 10. It's an 8 out of 10 chapter. I like it. Set up for a lot of things to come. Wonder if Hendrickson is really live. Let me know in the comments below. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.